Hey folks, it's Rob, and welcome back. We're continuing our series on the Night of the Living Dead playthrough. Just as an update on the sheet, here we are. We're up to 5:30 in the morning. We have taken off the time for visiting our current location, so unless we generate more time loss, we're caught up there. We have two memory traces completed. We have one evidence box. We have two pieces of the staff. We have the rod of lordly might, a bag of holding, and in the bag of holding, I have placed the explosive pellets we picked up last time, which are logged here, but also the crystal ball, which is a minor magical item, and the water breathing necklace, which perhaps I might want to use for trade or for other purposes. Until I run out of space, I figure I'll just pick up things I can pick up freely. Uh, let's switch to the PDF for convenience purposes for those of you following along at home. There we go. So we had arrived at 52A, which is quite a scene here. We have a sleeping dwarf. We have, well, I'm assuming sleeping. Also a sleeping man, we're assuming. Some weird creature here. Three mummies here in the foreground, each using a hookah, which conveniently seems to have three attachments on it. The one has a dashing hat and a scepter. Uh, this mummy is wearing bracelets. Um, so these are that's our illustration for the scene. So let's begin. 52A. The docks import raw materials from all the realms: wool, wood, food, fibers, metal and ore, clays and dyes, parchment and paper in 5-ton loads, ambergris and potion ingredients in 3-ounce flasks, 1,000 products for 100,000 workers. In itself, though, the dock ward consumes little from other lands. The docks export manufactured goods of every type to destinations in every kingdom: wagon wheels to Am, hurricane lanterns to Lantan, spears and swords to the missionaries in the jungles of Chult, pottery to the moon shays and the moon sea, cloth to the Chandlewood and the Winterwood, glass to dwarves, hatchets to elves, scrolls to halflings, everything to gnomes. In itself, though, Dockward sends little to other lands. The docks produce one commodity in great amounts, but it is for its own residents, and seldom leaves the ward: degradation. You stand before a shadowed building, more obscure than most here. The shadowy entrance is barely visible even to your undead eyes. The door stands ajar. "What is that foul smell?" says the weasel as you approach. Serpical complains too. "Drinks, stinks, drugs." A drug den, as you suspected. Girding yourself for the worst, you push your way in. If you have been to the drug den before in this adventure, stop reading here and go immediately to 71E. If this is your first time that you have been in here in this adventure, keep reading. Well, this is our first time here. Possibly our only time here. I don't know. We'll see. The den is dark and squalid, but no more than its inhabitants. The forms on the bunk beds are motionless, probably unconscious from the drugs well before the effluvium hit. The little monster perched on the bedpost is so interested in them that it gives you only a cursory glance, and the mummies, though conscious, seem completely oblivious to your presence. You gaze at the water pipe they share and realize there is nothing in it. Yet the mummies draw on it and slouch lazily in what seems a drug-induced daze. Are they reliving past sins? Are they compelled to repeat the self-abuse that plagued their lives? You watch their sluggish movements with disgust. The mummy with the ludicrous hat tries to clap another on the shoulder and misses several times. The third giggles and then stops as if in pain, then giggles again. Will you talk to the mummies? 97A. Attack? 27B. Investigate the monster? 130A. Leave? 146F. Or ignore monster and mummies and look around. But you can't look at anything but the figures on the bunks until you've somehow dealt with the mummies. So it does describe hat, scepter, water pipe, bracelet with stones, snake bracelet, sleeping dwarf, and sleeping man. But we really can't look at most of these until we've addressed the mummies in some way. So I'm kind of curious as to the not to this creature though, which is not undead, like unlike the mummies, and is not affected by the effluvium, which is our. We haven't run into anything that's not been affected by the effluvium that's not undead so far. Um, so I'm inclined to go with that 130A. 130A. This is a bizarre creature, and you are certain it is not a common sight in the ordinary life of Waterdeep. You address it politely. Greetings, what goes on here? I've just been asking myself the same question, says the strange fellow replies, its speech precise, its voice resounding clearly inside your head. What really happens when one partakes of the mind-altering substance? What drives these embalmed ones to their stupor? Is it a basic dissatisfaction with their lives, or do they seek existence in an alternate world? The creature fixes its bright eyes on you. As an adjutant, I come from an alternate world myself, and I fail to see the attraction it might hold for them. What do you think? I, well, you do not understand the attraction this poison holds for some. It is possible, perhaps they do not know themselves, perhaps they only know the stupor. It becomes their only reality. What is this other world, and why are you... These mummies are surely beyond all pleasure in life, and yet they return to their life patterns of behavior even though they lack actual substance of their addiction. Is it a habit that cannot be broken even by death? Frustrated, you can find no reply to the adjutant. Will you keep talking to it, 17B, attack it, 54G, go back to 52A and do something else, or leave, 146F? I don't see a reason to attack it other than it's from another world. But I mean, but that by itself isn't necessarily evil, although it is a weird, lumping, lizardly-looking creature. Um, let's go to 17B. 17B. I cannot answer your questions, you say quickly, but perhaps you can answer mine. The monster cocks its head at you. I know a lot of things, it says importantly. I am an adjutant. Ask your questions. What business have you here? The big fellow requires me to check up on how his magic is used. That is all anyone needs to know. But who is this big fellow? If you do not already know that, you have no business knowing. Why don't you go about your business and let me go about mine? But what precisely is your business? I answered that question. I don't repeat myself. Will you keep asking about the big fellow, 132B, attack the adjutant, 154G, return to 52A and look around, or leave, 146F? Big fellow, who apparently is in charge of probably the effluvium, right? So that's interesting. And apparently secret information I'm not to know. Uh, I could ask more. I don't think we're going to get anywhere on that. Um, Attacking him doesn't seem like, uh, I don't know. It just seems like a combat encounter for no reason. What am I going to get? I'll defeat this monster. That's about it, right? It's clearly not a part of the Staff of Waterdeep. Let's go back to 52. Let's go back to 52A and figure out my next step. So here we are back on 52A, and currently my options are to talk to the mummies, attack the mummies. I could look at the sleeping dwarf or the sleeping man, apparently, but I can't interact with any of the objects as long as the mummies are still present. Um, Three mummies would normally be a hard ask for an individual unless they are really potent. But I am undead, so it can't they can't disease me like they would a regular, human player. Um, they're apparently also drugged up, and that they can't seem to be able, like the one guy tried to slap his buddy on the back 3 times and failed. Right? Uh, mm, I don't know what benefit it would be in talking to the mummies, but maybe they know something. They were probably sent here for something, right? Let's try that. 97A. 97A. Greetings, you say tentatively. After all, how does one strike up a conversation with a mummy? Oh there, said the one in the hat. The others follow suit. You wonder if this bizarre headwear is supposed to mark him as a leader. What news? You ask. Don't you know? All three focus on you, at least a little. The leader nudges his companion, and this time he doesn't miss. He doesn't know, he exclaims, amused. Know what? You prompt. Cathexis. Time to celebrate. Celebrate, echoes his dour friend, and the third mummy giggles hysterically. Resurrection for us all, friend. Down under the ground, new life, don't you know? A grand celebration there'll be. Strix'll see to that, puts in the giggler, with another maniacal laugh. You may continue talking to the mummies if you like, although you know better than to mention the staff of Waterdeep, since they are probably looking for it too. Will you ask about their possessions, about Strix, about the coming resurrection, or about the little monster? You may go back to 52A to look around, or leave. Well, oh, and I normally read the entries as well. Sorry, but the possessions is 125B, Strix is 71B, Resurrection is 54B, and About the Little Monster is 120B. Strix is a name we haven't heard about. I'm interested in that. I am interested in their possessions, but I don't think we should be all that overt about that. Uh, More information about the resurrection might also be good. And then see if they know anything about the little monster might also be interesting. But I think we'll start with the priority item Strix 71B. 71B. Who is this Strix? You jest, laughs the first mummy. Jest, repeats the next mummy, and the third one giggles. She's a right powerful vampire, begins the first mummy, then pauses uneasily. Centuries old, puts in the giggler. Never one like her. Oh no, this hysterical giggle erupts again. What do you mean? But the mummy just laughs maniacally. What does he mean? You ask the others. But the one with the hat rises to his feet, looking at you nervously. He shrugs. Always at the right place, he tells you, and nudges his depressed companion, who also gets to his feet. They move toward the door, and the third still giggling. Hears folk talk. Knows who to be friendly with, he explains. and he laughs a high-pitched bark that nearly pierces your eardrums. Before he can say more, his buddies pull him out the door. You may stop the mummies and attack, 27B, allow them, 64, follow them, 64B, or let them go. If you let them go, you may look at the dwarf, the man, or leave. The dwarf would be 158C, the man 36D, or leave 146F. They. I don't like that they're leaving. I don't want. Attack the mummies? Follow the mummies? I think we may have to attack the mummies. I'm not super keen on it, but I do have my my rod of lordly might. I could just win the encounter, but then again, there may be tougher fights. Tougher fights in 3 months. Well, there's a Strix apparently, a centuries-old vampire. Then again, having items just to hold on to them. Well, it's that common conundrum, right? Use the items that you accumulate or waste them by never using them. But then again, you can waste them by using them inefficiently, which is always the problem, right? Uh, let's attack 27B. 27B. Swiftly you draw your sword and assail the mummy nearest you. From its bandages, a cloud of dust billows up that would choke you if you breathed. Before you can strike again, one of the other mummies lunges at you and the battle is joined. They do not fight as well as they might, for they still suffer the effects of their imaginary drugs. But there are 3 of them. They press in on you from all sides, their lumbering bodies inhibiting your movements, their grimaces revealing rotting teeth, the stench overpowering you. Proceed with the fight. See the combat table on page 160 for the 3 mummy statistics. Each mummy gets to attack you on each turn, but you may only attack 1 per turn. You may try to escape at any time by going to 137E. If you are reduced to 0 unlife points, your adventure is over. If you win, you look around once the dust has settled, literally, and notice that the little monster has vanished. You may leave 146F or go back to 52A to look around. So, here's the question. Do we use the Rod of Lordly Might now, and we just win this fight? Or do I save it for something else? Well, it is 3 mummies, and if I go to the chart on 160, which is literally the last page of the book, so I'm just going to bring up the desk cam here. There we go. Mummies 3. See the 52A here. They hit me on a 5 or less to inflict 5 points of damage, and each mummy has 20 unlife points. I hit. I'm on memory trace A, so I need to roll an 8 or less. And I do 7 points of damage every time I hit. So I would need to hit each mummy 3 times on 8 or less on the die, 12-sided die. That's not a small or short fight, and I have a total of 40 unlife points to be able to take damage. I think we're going to use the Rod of Lordly Might and strike that from our list as previously instructed. It's just, the cost of doing business sometimes, but hopefully there's something worth getting here. It also means I have this inventory slot back, which I'll just have to keep track of. Okay, I have defeated the mummies. So we go back to 52A and we can look around. Now, on 52A, we're here to look at the objects, right? That's why we expended this item, so we could look at these things. I'm interested, firstly, in the hat. I mean, the hat's not going to be part of the staff of Waterdeep, Rob. Probably none of these are going to be part of it. Should have just left. I could have had that rod for another time. That's what you're all saying in the comments. Please feel free to say these things, but, we're just going to carry onwards. Snake bracelet, 61D. Why not? It's a short trip from here. 61D. Snake bracelet is tarnished silver, etched in a scaly design. 2 tiny emeralds serve for its eyes. You hold up the shrunken head, and it sniffs 2 short sniffs. Very, very old. Sniff some more. Many owners of the centuries. Minor magic. Protects against snake bite. As an undead, you are immune to poison. Your blood does not circulate. The bracelet's magic is useless to you, but you may take it as a possession if you wish. Return to 52A to keep looking, or leave. 146F. Well, keep looking. We expended the effort to be able to do so. We will take the bracelet just because, we have room for things. Snake bracelet. Let's try the scepter. 147E. 147E. The opalescent gem in the scepter's tip is as large as an egg. It must be priceless to the living. But why would the mummy care for it? Suspicious, you hold up the shrunken head. Magic, it intones. Control for constructs. Power limited to golems, myrmidons, and beings of such size. You may take the scepter if you wish, unless a mummy still holds it. Return to 52A to keep looking, or leave. Well, what do I call it? Control scepter. Yeah. Never know, you might encounter some, constructs. Let's see, back to 52A. Alright, let's see. Bracelet with stones is 144C. Wish I'd read that before I went all the way back over here. Alright, let's do that. 144C. The jewels in the bracelet reflect the dim light of the fire of true gems. The gold is real too, and etched in fine detail. The cerbicule sniffs out no magic and discovers no history, but it does not take an expert, not even a sense of beauty, one you lack now, to see that it is very valuable. Of course, it is too small to fit over your large, square warrior's hand, but wouldn't it look fine on the delicate wrist of a lady? You try to recall a love in your life whose honor you upheld. Do you remember a beauty with flowing hair and luminous eyes? Or did you devote your life entirely to your god? It is of no use. Pleasant memories will not come in this frightful place. You may take the bracelet as a possession, but it is too small to wear. Return to 52A to keep looking around, or leave 146F. Well, I'm just going to call that bracelet. It's non-magical. It's valuable. I may have reason to give it over to something, but I doubt it. But we have no reason to leave behind right now. 52A. Well, let's see. We've checked out the bracelet, the scepter, the bracelet with the stones. The hat. Yes, 34B. 34B. The hat is made of fine material and seems brand new. The feather trails through the air as you turn the hat in your hands. Where have you seen a hat like this before? An image of a corpulent face, self-satisfied and smug, appears in your mind. Flashy rings on his fat fingers, rich fabrics and fine fashions on his immense body, and a bejeweled sword, purely ornamental, at his side. A self-serving merchant. You dealt with merchants amicably in the past, and yet you despise this man. who had gained so much wealth and so much power over others, and used none of it to good end, and did nothing but serve his own greed. Still, it is not your place to judge. Who was the fat merchant? You try, and finally you dredge up a name. Lagothrix. Lagothrix Blunt. You remember how unreasonable he was, and are glad you need have nothing further to do with him. Return to 52A to keep looking around or leave. 146F. Well, I'm just going to assume I'm wearing a hat now. Why wouldn't I wear a dapper hat now? Well, we can check out the sleeping bodies, or the hookah. Let's do the hookah. Why not? 142F. 142F. The hookah is well made but also well used, and it shows signs of corrosion. You let the cerebicule sniff it. One sniff, and the shrunken head starts coughing violently. You pull it away from the water pipe, but it continues to hack and choke. There is nothing to do but to remove the shrunken head from the den. You may examine nothing more, and must leave. 146F. Well, that is very close by. 146F. You emerge from the dark den with relief. The docks are nearby, and you may look at them by going to 48A, or you may walk right into the harbor from here, 94A. Each of these choices take half an hour for travel and exploration. Otherwise, go to 82A to go elsewhere in Waterdeep. And I believe we will leave it here. I see no reason to try to go back in. That was a bit of a waste of time and effort and resources, but interesting all the same. We did get some vague pieces of information, such as Strix and a larger power whose power has been used to produce the effluvium, and some probably pointless token items. But that'll be it for today. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you're enjoying this series. If you are, a like is very much appreciated. Have a great day, and goodbye.